In the dawn of humankind, when lightning was magic and the sun a god, the world was a place of mystery and wonder. Religion offered solace and explanation, a way to make sense of the inexplicable forces that shaped their lives. Primitive societies, grappling with the unknown, found comfort in deities who controlled the harvest, the hunt, the very fabric of their existence. These beliefs were not just spiritual but practical, guiding daily life and communal practices. These early belief systems, woven into the tapestry of culture and survival, served as humanity's first attempts to make sense of a world they could not yet understand. They were the bedrock upon which civilizations were built. But the world has changed dramatically over millennia. We are no longer primitive beings huddled around flickering fires, seeking answers in the shadows. Our understanding of the universe has expanded exponentially. Science has illuminated the darkness, replacing superstition with knowledge, myth with measurable reality. It has given us tools to explore and explain the natural world in ways our ancestors could never have imagined. We understand the mechanics of the cosmos, the intricate dance of genes that shapes life itself. Our quest for knowledge has revealed the vastness of the universe and the complexity of life. Yet the echoes of ancient beliefs still resonate, often clashing with the symphony of progress. These old stories and rituals persist, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in conflict with modernity. This dissonance is most apparent when we examine the role of organized religion in the 21st century. The tension between faith and reason is a defining feature of our times. While many find comfort and meaning within their chosen faith, it is undeniable that religion's grip on societal structures and individual morality is waning. The secular world is growing, and with it, new ways of finding purpose and ethical guidance. More importantly, the question arises, is this decline a necessary step in our collective evolution? Are we moving towards a more enlightened, inclusive understanding of our place in the universe? As we stand at the crossroads of faith and reason, it is imperative to critically examine the relevance of religion in a world increasingly defined by scientific understanding, individual liberty, and a growing awareness of our interconnectedness. The dialogue between science and spirituality is more crucial than ever. The time has come to ask ourselves, do the ancient stories still hold the answers, or is it time to write a new narrative for humankind? A narrative that embraces both our rich heritage and our boundless future. Throughout history, religion has been wielded as both a shield and a sword. While countless acts of compassion and charity have been carried out in the name of faith, we cannot ignore the darker side of the equation. Time and again, organized religion has been exploited to justify discrimination, persecution, and even outright violence. From the Crusades to the Spanish Inquisition, the blood-stained pages of history bear witness to the dangers of blind faith. Even today, we see religious extremism fueling conflicts around the globe, from the rise of fundamentalism to the persecution of minority groups. The very notion of a chosen people or a holy war inherently breeds division and otherizes those who do not conform to a specific set of beliefs. The LGBTQ+ community, for example, continues to face discrimination and prejudice rooted in religious dogma. Women, too, are often relegated to secondary status within the rigid hierarchies of many faiths, denied autonomy over their own bodies and destinies. These are not isolated incidents, but rather systemic issues woven into the fabric of many religious institutions. It is in these instances of exclusion and oppression that the incompatibility of organized religion with a modern, inclusive society becomes glaringly apparent. When faith is used to justify hatred and discrimination, it becomes a corrosive force, undermining the very principles of equality and compassion that are essential for a just and equitable world. One of the most striking aspects of many religions is their rigid hierarchical structure. From the Vatican to the grand mosques of Mecca, power is often concentrated in the hands of a select few who claim divine authority over their followers. This top-down approach to spirituality, while perhaps necessary in bygone eras, feels increasingly out of step with the values of autonomy and individual empowerment that define modern society. The unquestioning obedience demanded by many religious institutions stands in stark contrast to the critical thinking and open dialogue encouraged in other spheres of life. This blind faith in authority figures, often unquestioned and unchallenged, creates a fertile ground for abuse of power, as evidenced by the numerous scandals that have plagued religious organizations in recent years. Furthermore, the hierarchical nature of many religions reinforces existing power imbalances based on gender, sexuality, and social status. Women, for example, are often barred from positions of leadership, their voices silenced within the patriarchal structures that dominate many faiths. This lack of representation and equality within religious institutions perpetuates harmful stereotypes and hinders progress towards a more just and equitable society. In a world striving for greater transparency, accountability, and democratization, the opaque power structures of many religions appear increasingly archaic. As individuals awaken to their own agency and demand a more equal and just society, it is time to question whether these ancient hierarchies still serve a purpose, or whether they have become obstacles on the path to progress. The Book of Dogma versus the Book of Nature. A fundamental divide. Perhaps the most fundamental conflict between religion and modernity lies in their differing approaches to understanding the universe. This divide is not just academic, it influences how societies evolve and how individuals perceive their place in the cosmos. While science relies on empirical evidence, reason, and the scientific method, constantly questioning and testing hypotheses, religion often clings to ancient texts, unwavering dogma, and the unquestionable word of prophets long gone. These texts provide a sense of continuity and tradition, but can also limit the acceptance of new ideas. This fundamental difference in worldview creates a chasm that grows wider with every scientific discovery, challenging long-held beliefs and traditions. The theory of evolution, for example, is a cornerstone of modern biology, supported by overwhelming evidence from multiple scientific disciplines, including genetics, paleontology, and comparative anatomy. Yet, many religious groups continue to reject this fundamental principle, clinging instead to literal interpretations of creation myths written thousands of years ago. These myths, while culturally significant, often conflict with scientific evidence. This refusal to accept scientific consensus based on demonstrable facts highlights the inherent limitations of relying on ancient texts as infallible sources of knowledge. It raises questions about the adaptability of belief systems in the face of new information. Similarly, cosmology, geology, and physics have provided us with a detailed understanding of the universe's origins, the age of the Earth, which spans billions of years, and the laws that govern the cosmos. These scientific insights offer a grand narrative of existence that often contradicts religious teachings. These discoveries often contradict the literal interpretations of religious texts, forcing a choice between accepting scientific evidence or clinging to faith in the face of contradictory information. This choice can be deeply personal and fraught with emotional and intellectual challenges. This is not to say that science and religion are inherently incompatible. Many find a way to reconcile their faith with scientific understanding, embracing a more nuanced and metaphorical interpretation of religious texts. This approach allows for a harmonious coexistence of belief and evidence. However, the undeniable tension between dogma and discovery remains, and it is a tension that often leads to the suppression of critical thinking and the rejection of scientific progress. This ongoing struggle shapes our world and will continue to influence future generations. The burden of proof, where faith fails to find footing. One of the cornerstones of scientific inquiry is the concept of falsifiability. This principle is essential because it allows theories to be tested and potentially disproven, ensuring that only the most robust ideas survive. A scientific theory, to be considered valid, must be testable and potentially disprovable. This means that scientists must be able to design experiments that could show the theory to be false if it is incorrect. This rigorous standard ensures that scientific knowledge is constantly refined and updated as new evidence emerges. It is a dynamic process that values evidence and reason above all. Religion, on the other hand, often relies on faith, a belief in something despite a lack of evidence or even in the face of contradictory evidence. Faith does not require the same level of scrutiny or proof. This fundamental difference in approach creates a significant imbalance when it comes to the burden of proof. Science must continually justify its claims, while religion often asks for acceptance without question. Science is required to constantly test its assumptions and provide evidence for its claims. This ongoing process of validation and falsification is what drives scientific progress. Religion, however, often demands exemption from this burden, claiming special status for its beliefs and asking for acceptance based on faith alone. This can lead to a lack of critical examination. This double standard is unsustainable in the long run. As our world becomes more complex and interconnected, the need for evidence-based decision-making becomes ever more critical. In a world increasingly driven by evidence-based decision-making, blind faith simply cannot hold the same weight as demonstrable facts. The stakes are too high to rely on unverified beliefs. While personal belief is a matter of individual choice when it comes to shaping public policy, informing healthcare decisions, or educating future generations, we cannot afford to prioritize faith over reason. The implications of such choices are far-reaching. The time has come to shift the burden of proof back where it belongs. We must demand the same level of evidence and scrutiny for all claims, regardless of their origin. If religious claims are to be taken seriously in the public sphere, they must be subject to the same scrutiny and standards of evidence as any other claim about the nature of reality. This is not an attack on faith, but a call for consistency. Without this fundamental shift, we risk allowing faith-based beliefs to undermine progress and hinder our collective pursuit of knowledge and understanding. The future depends on our commitment to reason and evidence.